The new dating trends for 2025 are out. Let's talk about the terms, our new dating terms that we may need to become familiar with. Thank you so much for joining us on Second Act TV. Once again, I'm so happy to welcome back Joni Caldwell Lerner, the motivational coach, dating coach, relationship expert, and the author of Stop, Look, Choose. There it is. Joni, thank you so much for joining us again.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate it. I can't believe that you can point back there perfectly at the book.
I've,
It's
I've,
like a
I've
weather woman.
practiced.
Woo!
I've practiced all morning.
You're amazing.
We're going to have fun today, as usual. It's that time of year, the end of the year as we record this, and the new dating trends and terms for 2025 are out. The big sites, as usual, they do all these surveys about what is trending in the dating world, what is changing, and what we need to expect. So that's what we want to talk about today.
Well, it's always fun. This is always a fun segment that we do at the beginning of the year. And it's funny because I feel like sometimes they just rename things that we already know about. But on the other hand, they're coming up with things. And I'm like, whoa, you what? So this
Yeah.
will be fun to share with your viewers.
Let's do this. Let's discuss like the overall trends, the overall shifts that they're
Mhm.
predicting. And there's four of them. The first one, and our viewers are going to love this, is well, the dating apps are here to stay, but that the users aren't. Apparently, there is a significant decline in
Mhm.
dating app use, and they're
Mhm.
predicting that that will continue on to 2025. In fact, the studies show that companies like Eventbrite, that they're seeing, gosh, almost a 50% increase in attendance at events.
Yeah, so write that down, people out there. Eventbrite, find find some in-person meetups. The truth is, as you were speaking, I was thinking, COVID hit, and I think that maybe the apps picked up a little bit. And now it's interesting because I think human contact is probably at an all-time low because of all the social media, because of
Yeah.
all the devices we're on. And so for us to really shift into human contact again, even if it's just for friendship, if it's for
Mhm.
companionship,
Right.
I think that's a really healthy trend.
I totally agree. And you're right. The COVID obviously decreased it. It's catching back up. So there is a very strong movement back, meeting IRL. And what the good thing about that is, even for the apps, is that they're going to start focusing on promoting that kind of stuff too. As a matter of fact, I heard that
Mhm.
the dating they know they need to make changes. So hopefully we're going
Yes.
to see some good changes in 2025. The second trend here, and that actually started, I think, a few years ago, but it's really getting pronounced. It's dry dating. That daters are going sober to find love. That by cutting out alcohol, it avoids some awkward situations and some bad judgment.
So this is very interesting because I think the Gen Z for sure, they are not drinking the way our generation drank. They are not because they're very health conscious. They understand
Mm-hmm.
the acidic nature of alcohol, for example. But what you bring up is very interesting, which is it takes the edge off. And so I may be looking at the person and I can see the person, but then I have a drink and I'm beginning to go, well, not so bad. You know, second drink, oh, he's kind of interesting. By the third drink, I'm like, my husband. So I'm not a person who drinks at all. And you love your wine and your
I
fine
do.
wines. And so we kind of represent both sides of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think being uh, conscious and intentional around drinking when dating is really
Mm-hmm.
important.
Right. No, I agree. I have to admit that my first dates when I was online dating, I love going to happy hour and have a glass of wine because it
Mhm.
did take the edge off. I didn't start doing shots, but it I can totally see where if you get too relaxed, you're just, oh my God, what was I thinking? And
Yeah.
the apps even are catering to that. There are
Yeah.
apps now just for sober people or for people that don't drink, that don't want to have to explain why they don't drink, because it does become sometimes a point of contention. It's like, oh, why don't you drink? Are you an alcoholic? It just
Yeah.
brings a lot of awkwardness, or can bring a lot of awkwardness to a first meeting. So yeah, good, good. So dry dating.
Well, and here's the other thing is if a person feels like if I were to go to, let's say I was drinking, I would go, and if I'm a little nervous, I might
Mm-hmm.
have that drink. You know what I mean? To
Yeah.
to take the nerves off or whatever. And then I end up
Mm-hmm.
saying things that I don't want to say. And but then there are people out there who are just so able to hold their liquor. It's not even
Mm-hmm.
funny.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, you guys all have to decide for yourselves. Try
Yeah.
it though. Might be
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. It's that second bottle of wine that always gets me in trouble, but otherwise I'm good.
I love you.
Here's another one that we both are going to love. I think as we preach it, is that singles are doing away with types, and you might have heard the term contra dating.
Hmm.
That it involves consciously dating people that you normally wouldn't choose. To expand your options a little bit.
So I love this with the caveat. They can be very opposite, they can be very different, but are their
Mm-hmm.
values aligned with
Right.
yours? Then
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't matter if they don't like pickleball, but they like golf, and you don't like golf, and they like, you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
matter so much if you're aligned with the things that really make a difference and are sustainable long term.
Apparently it's a big trend. And the way I what struck me too is that it's about that if they're not your type, maybe physically, that you would date someone who you ordinarily wouldn't be attracted to, and then as you get to know them, you may well have that growing attraction if you just get rid of that, the necessity for that immediate and pronounced spark. Here's number four, and another good, I don't know, interesting, I guess. Living in the moment, no
Mm.
matter the outcome. They called it Natto. Nato is the acronym. Natto dating, or not attached to the outcome. A form of dating that places an emphasis on living in the moment day by day with potential matches.
Well, the Toltecs 6 to 10,000 years ago knew that already. Practice non attachment, be in the present moment, not being attached to how a person's supposed to look, what a person's supposed to do, what a person's supposed to have in their bank account. The attached is
Yeah.
the signifier right there.
What I think, simply said, if you will, is that you're no longer worried about whether the person in front of you is the one. Forget about the future.
Yes.
Just focus on this. I mean, it might be
Yes.
easier said than done. I have to admit, I've never done that, but that certainly is intriguing to me.
Yeah, well, absolutely intriguing because think about it, Silka. Non attachment to anything. If we're not attached to things, we are not disappointed.
Mm,
We are not afraid of loss. We are not future tripping, projecting, oh my gosh, what if? If we're practicing non attachment, which is what they're saying, be in the
right,
moment,
right.
just be open. Let's
Yeah.
see where this can go. What a freeing and kind of fun place to be.
Well, lots of good stuff there. I like the focus, especially on authenticity. So we'll see how that holds up moving forward. Now, Joni, on to the really fun part of this
Yes.
conversation. The trends are great. Let's talk about the terms, our new dating terms that we may need to become familiar with. Uh, One of the first ones here that kind of goes along with the contra dating, or the not NATO or whatever it was dating, is sticking.
Mhm.
Stick, STICKING, sticking. The emphasis here is on the ick. They're so clever. So you're overlooking some of the initial ick when you meet someone and don't make it an immediate deal breaker.
That's a rough one for me because ick is such a descriptive word.
Right.
It feels really guttural. I don't know, maybe you can shed some light on some minor icks that you might overlook.
Well, what I think what they were talking about here, little things about looks, about, oh, that mustache. Ooh, and this is written for, again, for younger people. I think the real takeaway in this, because
Uh-huh.
ick is like, I think that's like an in word. I don't know. We'll have to ask a younger person. But it's really, again, overlooking, being so particular, being
Okay.
overly
Okay.
picky.
Well, that's a different,
And
to me, that's a different, thank you.
yeah.
That's a different topic. So being, because here's the thing, when you're that picky, when you're
Mhm.
doing that, it is a wall and you're keeping away from
Right.
having a relationship, from having vulnerability, for having
Right.
connection. And you
Right.
think that it's about you being picky. What's behind that? And where else in your life does that keep you from other human beings? Because that's
Mhm.
judgment. That's being very judgmental. And that is a way of separating you from other human beings.
It's really about looking past initially anything superficial that might have, quote unquote, either turned you off or not interested or whatever. It's really, again, getting back to authenticity,
Yeah.
and not yeah, giving somebody a chance that might just end up being, a good match. So on to number two. This is funny too. Freak matching. Yep, freak matching. That is where a characteristic or interest that may be considered weird by others is a point of attraction now,
Hmm.
that you connect because you have shared quirks.
Well, I don't know if hunting would be considered a quirk, but it's not something I do. But I know
Mm-hmm.
couples that really are into hunting together. They're into that together, or fishing, or for me and
Mm-hmm.
John, it's metaphysical. It's the metaphysical journey. And for a lot of people,
Mm-hmm.
that might be weird.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, one person's weird is another person's normal.
Yeah.
So no judgment, man.
Well, I think, again, what this says is there's a focus on being yourself,
Yes.
that you don't try to hide something. You're being yourself. You put it out there, and hopefully it's appropriate for the first few dates or whatever,
Yeah.
but that you do live who you are, and yeah, it'd be kind of cool to connect with someone that does the same.
And they won't know unless you tell them. But here's the thing, and this is usually for the women out there, be willing to speak your truth. Be willing to share what's true for you. Exactly what Silke was just saying. Be authentic. But I'm addressing women in particular in this second because our generation tends to, oh, what do I need to do for him to like me?
Mm-hmm.
What do I need to say? What do I need to not say? Oh, I don't want to say that because it might turn him off.
Yep.
You know what? Turn them off in the beginning. Save yourself
Mm-hmm.
some time because you could
Yep.
live that life for a long time, but you're
Mm-hmm.
only this much of yourself.
Totally agree. Totally agree. So that could be a good one. Good. Here's another one. Grim keeping. All the names they come up with here, as they say here, is bonding over your darker side. I don't know how good that is, but basically bonding over some mutual dislikes or mutual, well, they even say here hates. You both hate something, now you're bonding over it. Maybe
Yeah.
politics, that might work.
That was the first thing I thought about. Yeah. So that's a slippery slope. And there are some negative people who are drawn to negative people and they can be negative
Mm-hmm.
together.
Right.
If that's what floats their boat, then so be it. So much of the work I do is about shining a light on the shadow side, because we all have it. We all have the dark side. But if we revel in it and get stuck in the quagmire of it, we're in trouble. Be very careful to not base a love relationship
Mm-hmm.
on something negative.
I totally agree. And I wonder if the whole political, life that we've lived through for the last four, whatever years, that might have contributed to that being a trend.
Mm-hmm.
That, yeah, because it has been really negative. And I agree with you. It's sad that something negative, is trending in terms of connecting with someone. So yeah, do think about that twice before
Yeah.
making that a staple of your relationship. Now, the next two here, Joni, I'm not sure how they're trends. I'll get your opinion on this, but it's pretty funny here. The fourth one, yap trapping. And that's about people who just excessively talk about themselves without asking any kind of questions. Normally, they would run you off. You don't want to have anything to do with that. It's a turn off. But I suppose the trend in this is that you don't necessarily write off a yap trapper after just one encounter because they might be nervous. So are there that many yap trappers out there that's becoming a trend, not to throw them away?
We are not taught deep listening. We are not taught how to truly listen to another human being. That is something, it's emotional intelligence. It's something that is learned along the way. So, so being able to be conscious, be aware enough in the conversation to realize that you're talking only about yourself. Oh, and you can say, oh, wow, I'm so sorry. All I've done is talk about myself.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just because I'm a little nervous because it's our first date. Tell me about you. That's going to take a conscious person.
Mm-hmm.
Or the other person can say, wow, would you like to ask me anything about me?
Would you like it?
You
Do you want to
interested
know
at
me
all?
anything about? Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
you just need a sounding board because I'm a little deeper than that.
I just find it so interesting that this was included, that this is a trend, that this is so prevalent that
Mhm.
we really have to focus on not letting that influence our first impression. And that's a tough one because you and I and other segments we do on the show, we've talked about that a lot. If you want
Yes.
to be interesting, shut up.
Yeah, yeah.
Don't
Ask
talk about
questions. Yeah.
yourself. Interesting
Mhm.
that this showed up on the list. Now, the last one here that they have as the top five, this one threw me for a loop as well. I still don't quite get it. It's called schmooten. I'm not exactly sure
Schmooten.
how. I'm not exactly sure how
Schmooten.
they even how they came up with it. We'll have to look into that a little bit more. But this is about fantasizing about being a character in the storyline of a romantic TV show, movie, book, and having that become a reality. That you're using really fantasies to create a model for your next partner. I mean, what I
I have
don't
two
quite
words.
get that.
You ready?
Yeah,
Good luck.
I want to look into this somewhere. So you're saying that, or we're saying that, or they're saying that. I guess it's not necessarily encouraging it. Just because it's a trend doesn't mean it's good. But that people fantasize their new partner, and that's going to be the blueprint, if you will, to who you're looking for.
Yeah, I think that's baloney and it's been around forever. And I mean, if you look at Bridgerton, that was another example. It's fine to what I loved that show, but I'm not modeling my life after it.
Right.
I know the difference.
Yeah, that's really, I wonder if that has anything to do with all this virtual reality stuff that's coming up,
Oh
that you
man.
literally, I don't know, that this trend scares me a little bit.
We've got some segments coming up on AI
Yeah,
and stuff
yeah.
like that. I feel like there's a trend there. You're
Oh, there
right.
is. There
You're right.
absolutely is. So anyway, that I couldn't resist that. Well, Joni, a fun segment. Thank you for joining me on this again, as we usually do every year. I will link to all of your information like we always do. There is a Calendly link in the show notes below just for Joni if you want to talk to her about any of these new trends. She probably has a lot more to say. Joni's a wonderful coach. You need some help in 2025 going forward. Do give her a call and make sure you pick up her book, Stop, Look, Choose, a blueprint to, well, designing your life and overcoming some of the challenges you may be facing. So, Joni, again, thank you so much. And I look forward to our next conversation on Second Act TV.